Hi, Tim Unkert here, and in today's video, we're going to use the Materialize CSS framework to create this landing page here for a little fake website design agency that I thought of called Unicorn Web Dev. Okay, so we're going to have this stuff here about our HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and PHP. We're going to have basically this unicorn here, and we're going to have this section here talking about static sites, and then maybe a bit more complex site, and then we have a nice contact form and a nice little footer at the end. Okay, so we're going to get started with that. So let's Google Materialize. You see I was Googling a bunch of stuff with Materialize, and we'll go down and we'll go to here to the documentation. Okay, and just click on Get Started. Okay, so we can download it like so, which we'll do. Okay, and let's show it in this folder. Let's take a look at what we've got. So we look in here, we got JS, CSS. I'm just going to copy this. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take the minimize CSS. Let's copy that. And let me go in here and let's cd into the projects. And let's make a directory called Materialize Web Design. Okay. And I'm going to cd into Materialize Web Design. And then now I'm going to take this minified folder, and we'll see if we can work with the minified folder. I may take just the other one, but we're going to use a search function in Vim that'll help us to find what I want to change. Okay, so you'll see I did the landing page here, but again, I make my notes beforehand. Okay, so I'm just going to paste the min in there, the minimize CSS file in there, and I'm going to create an index.html file. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to open up. Let's see, what they call it. I'm going to open up with Vim. I'm going to open up materialize.min.css. Okay, and we're going to have this minimized folder here. Now it looks like a bunch of it's a big mess. Okay. But what I want to find, now I've looked through the documentation, this is how I'm going to find this stuff. So I go here and I go to my colors, and let me just, okay. And if we look here through the colors, it gives you this big color palette, and you have a lot of different things. Now, for my website, what I wanted was to affect the base deep purple, okay, and also the base black color, okay. So what I'm going to do with Vim, and we'll see if we can work with this file, I'm going to search for deep purple. And there we go. We found it, okay, right down here at the bottom. And I'm going to change this. So I'm going to delete this word. Okay, and I'm going to insert 6C6 3FF and space it because we have that. That's important. And let me move this out of the way because there's one more thing I have to find right after that. So I'm going to just, whoops, I'm not going to do that. I have my thing set up so I can mash JK or KJ together and switch to insert mode. So we also want to change this deep purple text. So I'm going to delete this word, and then I'm going to insert 6C6 3FF, leave a space, and then just save it like that. Okay, and I also want to search for the black color. So I'm going to go back to my search, and I do that with a / and I just type black, hit enter. Okay, I want to change this. It's typically set at black, but I'm going to change this to something that's not quite black. I'm going to change it to, let's see, 3 F3 D56, okay? And then I'm going to go along here to the black text and also change that. So I'm going to change that to 3F3 D56. And now I'm going to save the file. And now I can quit out of this mess. It's kind of hard to read, but with the search function, that's cool. You can find it fairly easily. All right, so I'm going to start an index.html page and do that here too. And I'm going to use Emmet to create this page. So I'm going to go to insert mode or to create some of the page and hit Control Y, comma, and that's going to give me a basic outline. Now I want to have a viewport tag, so I'm going to type meta and then :VP and expand that with Emmet. And I'm also going to type meta and DESC and expand that with Emmet. And within the content section, let me move this down. The content is going to be a landing page built with the Materialize CSS framework. I mean, again, this is an example. I'm not really using this page. Okay, so, and then title, it's going to be Unicorn Web Dev. And as I'm doing this video, I'm using the Solarized 8 theme for Vim, in case you're wondering. Let me know in the comments. I've increased my font size. I actually have it at 12, and this is set at 16. Let me know if this is good for you guys watching the video. And let me know what you think about the color scheme. You want it darker, whatever. Give me some feedback. I'd love to hear it. Okay. I also am going to create a link to the style sheet, and I'm going to expand this with Emmet, and then I have to change this, and I'm going to type materialize.min.css. Okay, and we'll check that in a moment. Make sure that's linked in. Actually, let me just see. I think I spelled everything right. I'm using Nerdtree in case you're wondering to get that sidebar up. Okay. Let's get started. I'm going to make a comment that I'm going to begin the nav menu. And then below there, I'm going to start with a nav with a class of deep purple. And I'm going to show you how you can expand some of this stuff in Emmet. And below that, I'm going to have a div with a class of nav wrapper. And within that, I'm going to have a link with a class of brand logo. And then within the link, I'm going to have an image with no classes. And let's expand that at that point. And then, okay, so that expands all that stuff for me. I'm going to just space this out a little bit better so we can see it a little bit nicer. Okay. The link isn't going to go anywhere because this is just based off, I'm just basing this page off aesthetics at this point. Image source, we're going to need to create a source for the images. I'm going to call the folder, not hashtag, sorry, that's a mistake. I'm going to call the folder images, and then we're going to put this image in here, unicorn.svg. I got that off of undraw.co. That's a website where you can get free pictures for free drawings, like for any use. Okay. Put in some alt text, just unicorn web dev. And then I'm also going to put some stuff in. This is the same as I did in the Bulma video, because I thought it was about a good width and height. So width is 112, height is 28. Okay. You would need to play with this a little bit. Okay. And then let's see. And then below that, I'm just going to have the text unicorn web dev. Okay. And then outside this link, I'm going to have an unordered list with a class of right and a class of hide on medium and down. That's a materialized class. And then within that, I'm going to have a list item, and I'm going to have 5 of those. And within that, I'm going to have, each of those is going to have a link. Okay. And I'm going to span this out now. Okay, so I've got my list items. Now, the way I'm expanding that out using Emmet on Vim is I have this plugin. You just search Emmet Vim, and you expand it out with Control Y, comma. Okay, if you're using VS Code or something similar that has Emmet, you would hit Tab or Enter, and it would expand it out. Okay. Each of these links is going to go nowhere, so I'm actually going to run a macro right now and put in just a hashtag in where the quotes are by the href. So I'm going to hit Q. Whoops! I'm actually going to go to normal mode. Hit Q W to start recording. See, I'm recording in the bottom screen at W. I'm going to go 0 to go to the start of the line, and then I'm going to type 1F to find the first occurrence of the quotes. I actually should have done the second, but now I'll move over to this one, go into insert mode, and put in my hashtag, and then go down. Now I would do this faster if I were not explaining it, but just to show you the process, then I'm going to stop recording and then hit 4 at W, and it's going to do it the rest of the time. So that's a nice feature. Just thought I'd show you that in case you're interested. Okay, so we're going to have a home page, and we're going to have an about page, and we're going to have a contact page, and we're going to have a portfolio page, and we're going to have a blog. Okay, yeah. I'm not actually going to make these parts, but we would potentially have this stuff. Okay, so I'm going to go down, and I think we're good with our nav bar. Let's check it out, and I'm just going to make a comment here that we are ending the nav bar section. Okay, all right, let me open this up and check it out. Now, I'm doing this, and I actually think I might focus my YouTube channel on this as web development in the Chromebook, in case you're wondering, because I don't know, I'm pretty impressed with these little things. You can get a lot out of them and they're very cheap, which is kind of cool. It breaks the barrier to entry, which I think is pretty awesome. And I'm babbling. Okay, so we're going to go to Materialize Web Design, and I'm going to click on Index, and see we've got everything. We've got the alt text coming through for the image, so we have to go grab that image. And so I'm going to go to undraw.co, and if you're looking for cool stuff to put on your site, look at this. This undraw.co has this open source illustrations for any idea you can imagine and create, and it's free. You can use it for anything. It's free. It's pretty awesome. Okay, so let's search for unicorn, because if you've been watching my channel by now, you know that I like to build websites with unicorns in them. Who doesn't? And all right, so we're going to download that, and I'm going to rename this unicorn.svg, and I'm going to copy that, and I should clear out some of my files there. I'm going to copy that into this Materialize web design. I think that was the one. We got to create a folder called images, and we're going to paste this in, okay? And I'm going to close this, all right? And we're going to go back here, and I'll leave that other tab open. Okay, so now when I refresh, you'll see the alt text goes away. The alt text is there in case the picture doesn't render in for screen readers, so it's important to put. But that goes away, and we have this nice little unicorn up there, which we're also going to use for this part here. So if you look at the finished product here, we have this here, okay? All right, so now that we're done with that, we can begin, I'm going to call this the hero section. All right, so let's make a note of that we are going to begin the hero section, okay? And all right, so in the hero section, we're going to have a div with an ID of hero, and to do that with Emmet, I just do a hashtag and hero, and then within that, I'm going to have a container. Oops, I got to do a div with a class of container, so I got to do the dot for the class, and then within that, I have a div with a class of row. Much like Bootstrap, it uses the row before you put the columns. And then within that, I have a column that also has a class or div with a class of column with also a class of S6. So it's a 12, like Bootstrap, Materialize as a 12 column system. The breakpoint is at the small screens for this one, and it's 6 is halfway across, okay? Within that one, I have another class of row because you'll see on the left and right. Let's just take a look. Let me describe it, why I'm doing that. Okay, so I have within this is half, we have 2 breakpoints here. Okay, and I probably, in retrospect, would probably want to do a breakpoint with L of 6. Let's change it. And I'll talk about why in a moment. Okay. All right. So then within that, we have a row, and then we want to have another column with a breakpoint of, let's do L of 6 or L6. So we have a div with a class of column and a class of L6. Okay. And we have 2 of those. So times 2. And then within each of those, we have, and I'm going to do in parentheses here, heading 4 plus an unordered list with list items. And then within the list items, there's 4 list items. So we'll get to that in a moment. Within the list items, we're going to have some text. Yeah, but it's going to do it for both. I'll just do it for both. Okay, because I don't want to type it out all the time. Okay, so let's take a look up here. So we have in this HTML, I have these comment tags. So this is like how you comment out code in HTML. And I did that as part of the design. Now, if I wrote this actually in my text editor, it would actually comment out those things and you would see nothing here. So I can't do that. Okay, so a way to get around that is use the symbols, so ampersand LT hashtag, and that's going to give me the left arrow, and then I'm going to do space, and then 2 more, and then ampersand GT comment. Okay, and we're going to do 4 of those, close our parentheses, and expand this with Emmet. Okay, so now if you go down here, we see, oh, the text is already in there, and all I have to do is insert. So this makes my job a lot easier using Emmet. Now, I've done some videos where I'm not using it, but I figure, might as well show you some of the tools that make your job a lot easier with HTML, okay? Now, when I get here, this is going to be for CSS, so I'm going to have to delete this stuff out. We'll do a macro to do that. Okay, anyways. Okay, I'm going to type. Semantic Tags is our first thing I put there. And great structure. Okay, and SEO. If you're using semantic tags, it does help to, tell Google what your page is about if you organize your semantic tags properly. Okay, and then well-organized code. All right, so now we're going to go down here, and if we look at this next section over here, this is the CSS part. We're going to have these 2 like brackets that you use in CSS around the text that we want. So what we want to do is take those out, and we're going to do that with a macro. So I'm going to type QW, start recording. You don't have to use W, just use something besides Q. Could be any other letter. I'm going to go to the start of the line by pressing 0. Then I'm going to look for the first occurrence of the ampersand signal. And then I'm going to go to visual mode and just go here and then delete all of this. And then I'm going to go to insert mode, type these 2 brackets, go back to normal mode, I do it by mashing JK because that's something I created in my Vim. And Vim RC, and then go down, and then I'm going to stop recording. Okay, I'm going to do that 3 more times. So I type 3, Shift 2, which is the @ and then W, and 3 times, and then I've got those brackets, and now I can start to put the next part in. Okay, so I'm going to go up here, Shift 2, and switch to insert mode, and type Materialize, and yes, and then go here, and we have Bootstrap. Yes. And I'm doing it kind of like you would format, CSS with the colons and then the semicolon after, just kind of, make it look cool. Tailwind, yes. And then the last one, Bulma. Yes, and there's a bunch of other frameworks, but I figured we'd have 4 here. Okay, so I saved that. Let's go back here, and that's what our finished project is, and let's see where we're at. And what did we forget? We forgot to put in HTML and CSS for our headings, so let's go do that. All right, so I'm going to go and hit 6J, and I'm going to go down, and I actually want to hit 12K to go back up. Okay, and I overshot it by 1. All right, so I'm going to go in here and enter CSS, go back to normal mode, and let me do 9K, and then we go back up there, and then in here and put HTML. Okay, and now, oops, now I'm going to go to normal mode, save it, and let's refresh. Okay, so we've got HTML and CSS, so we need JavaScript and PHP. And then we're going to need to have our unicorn, of course. All right, so let's go down here and okay, so after this div, I have after this div, I have another div. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. I have a div with a class of column, also a class of L6. Okay. With inside that, I have a 4th level heading plus an unordered list plus 4 list items. And actually, hold on, I have 2 of these that I have to do. So I'm going to multiply that times 2. And then let's expand that out. Okay. All right. And there we go. All right. So let's type out this stuff. So we got JavaScript. And let me see, what do we put? Okay, so now I'm using let because you use let to declare a variable with modern JavaScript. Okay, so let React. Then I'm going to list out some of the frameworks that are popular today. So let Angular, let Vue, and let jQuery. Okay, now I could have put something else like Svelte as well, but All right, and then we want to put PHP here. So I'll put PHP, and then I'll put some modern content management systems that are built basically on PHP. So WordPress, Joomla, Drupal. Oops, I spelled Joomla wrong. Drupal. I'll take out this L. And then a framework. Whoops, what am I doing? Got to go back into insert mode. So Laravel. Okay. And save that. Let's see. Okay, so that's looking good. I'm liking that. All right. So we've got our top part there. Nice. Now we got to put in our unicorn, of course. It's not a unicorn web dev without the unicorn. All right. So go down 2 divs here. And here I'm going to have another div with a class of row. Inside that, I'm going to have 1 div with a class of column and a class of L6. Okay, and then within that, I'm going to have an image with a class of responsive -image. These are all Materialize classes. And I'm going to expand that out using Emmet. Okay. Hold on one sec. Hold on one sec, guys. Let me pause this for just a moment. Hi there, back again. Okay, let's keep going. And all right, so we were going to add the unicorn image. All right, so what I'm going to do is type in the path of the source, which is going to be images, and then unicorn.svg, and put in some alt text. Let's say unicorn web dev. Okay, and we'll save it, and we'll go to our project and refresh, and we're not having the unicorn show up, which is because I typed this wrong. Okay, so let's just, order was off, so let's do that again. Okay, and there we go. There's our unicorn. Okay, all right. So, we are going to now do a little bit of getting around the framework, because if you look at this is good spacing here, but this part of the unicorn is kind of cramming up against this top bar, and I want to move it down just a little bit. And what I use the margin top of 50. So let's go up to the top of the hero, and I'm going to insert a style of, and that's inline style. It's, again, yeah, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, but I could create a class in my style sheet, and when I refactor the code, maybe I would do that, where I created a class called hero and then put the margin top 50 pixels. We could do that as well. So actually, while we're here, why don't we do that? All right. So let's go here. And let's go to the end of the file, and the end of the line, and let's close that out. And we're at the end here, and I'm just gonna go here and give a class for hero, and we'll do, what do we want to do? Margin top 50 pixels, and we'll close that out, and let's see if this, working with the minimize, generally you don't want to do that, but all right, and we'll refresh, and it shouldn't change yet, but let's take it out here. Okay, and we'll save that, and as I refresh, you'll see that it stays the same because I've put that class into our minimize CSS. Cool. All right, let's go down. We'll go down here. This is the end of the hero. Okay, and then we're going to begin. Sorry about that. We are going to begin this next section here, which is, I call it info section 1. We're talking about static sites. So let's do that. We're going to just make a comment, begin info section 1. Okay, and we'll have an ID of info section 1. I think is what I called it. Yeah. Okay, and a class is going to be deep purple. That's going to give me that background. And we're going to do some styles with that, but I won't do that just yet. Some inline styles, but we could actually go back into our minimized CSS. Technically, you don't really use the minimized CSS when you're doing that kind of stuff. But, I find it easy enough to put it in the end, so we could do that. And then in the row, we're going to have a div with the class of row after that. And then after that, we're going to have a div with the class of column and L4. That's 4 columns across. And within that, we're going to have, let's see, an H4, an H3, and an H6. Now this, I haven't found something on Materialize where I can get the different sizes without using the headings, and that's not as good for SEO. And each of these has a class of text black. So we're going to do that. This is a bunch of writing here. Let me move this up so you can see it. And then we have the H3 with a class of text black. Now I could do a macro to do this, but well, I'm not. So, and then we have an H6 with a class of text black and a paragraph with a class of text black. I probably should have done a macro after I just expanded this out, because now it's getting kind of complicated here. Okay, and then plus, so we're going to close the parentheses, plus we have a class with a class of column. And I might have to put more parentheses around this to get this to work. Column with also a class of L8, so that's taking the remaining 8 columns. And inside of that, we have an image with a class of responsive image. And yeah, okay, so let me put some more parentheses around this. So I'm going to put a parentheses here and then go back along here and go here and put another parentheses there. So you'll see that I have a plugin here that kind of highlights these two parentheses. So I don't know if you see it, but it's highlighting this one and this one, so I know they're matching. That kind of helps you keep track of things. And I'm going to go to the end of the line here, and we're in insert mode, and let's expand it. Boom. Okay, that's pretty nice, huh? All right, and let's just space this out here. Okay, and we'll go up here, and in the H4, we're going to say, maybe you need something simple. Question mark. Okay. Why build something complicated? Oops. Okay, and then if you need something simple, okay, with only your email and phone number, why build something overly complex? Okay, and then within the paragraph, we're going to say you don't need WordPress, because if you're not updating it, you don't need WordPress. You don't need TypeScript, because I'm just putting that because that's all the buzz right now. You don't need Node.js. Will give you only what you need. Okay, and just change that back, and we'll go down here, and my image source is going to be in the images folder, and we're going to call it static. I'm going to have to go get that from undraw.com, .co, and the alt text is going to be static websites. And from here, okay, so I want to keep my lines under 80 lines just for formatting purposes. So to do, what I can do is just move back here a little bit. And to move back quickly, in normal mode, I'm typing B, and then to move forward, I'm typing W, that moves forward a word. And, I can format it like that. And that keeps it within the line the way I want it to. And then I can quickly move up here and just typing 24K, just in case you're interested in this kind of stuff and improving your efficiency. And I can fix that. Okay. Now I want to move back down there. I think it's like 23J. It'll move me back down right kind of where I want to go. Okay. Our divs are closed out and we have ended info section 1, but we are going to have to add some extra styling. In a moment, I'll show you why. Okay. So we'll refresh and we've got this. We don't have this just yet. Okay. We've got this text here. We've got to get that picture, so that I'm just going to type in to get the picture, static website. I think that's, yeah, this one. And we'll download and show in the folder. And I'm going to rename this to static website. Or no, just static is what I called it, static. And I'm going to copy that and put it in the folder that I need it in. So it's in my projects, Materialize web design and images, and we'll paste it in there. And let's dismiss that. Okay. And let's refresh. That's the end project. And okay, so I've done something a little bit off. Let's see what I did. 8. Okay, and this might have been me getting a little overambitious with Emmet, because I've got to close out this div here. And that means that, actually, let me escape that. That means that this one is in the wrong spot. And actually this stuff, let's move it back. Now to move it back, I just go into visual mode, highlight that, and then shift and the left, shift and comma or the left bracket, whatever you want to think of it. Let's save it and see if that fixes the issue. And it does. Okay. So yeah, I got a little overambitious with my use of Emmet, but fixed it up pretty quickly. Okay. So, and just a side note, that's why, properly indenting really kind of helps you out, and you can kind of see, oh, okay, I didn't actually close this out, and you can make notes of that and that kind of thing. All right. So you notice that this image here is crammed up against the top. So what I did is add some padding. So what we can do is I'm going to use Control B to use a nerd tree, open this back up, Shift G to go to the end line of the file. Notice that end line is pretty long. Shift $ to get to the end there. And let's see, I'll just do info section 1, and we'll do, this time I did it with padding. So I did 50 pixels on top, 0 on the right, 30 pixels on the bottom, and 0 on the left. Yeah. And we'll close that out. Refresh. I'm going to keep in here and just, yeah, and that brings it down. That's nicely what I need. So cool. Okay. Now this, adding these couple little bits here isn't really changing the size of the file that much. So it's no real big deal. Okay. So we're back here. Let's go down to the bottom and we'll start info section 2. So begin info section 2. Okay, and so I'm going to have a div with an ID of info section 2. It's going to have a class also. Did we want deep purple? No, I don't want deep purple for info section 2. Okay, so I don't want deep purple. I'm lying. There is no class that I added, but I'm going to add some padding to this one as well. So we'll go back into that CSS file in a moment. So we're going to have a container. With inside the container, we're going to have a row. With inside that, we're going to have 2 columns, 2 divs with 2 columns. They both have L6. We're going to have 2 of those. Within each of those, we're going to have different things. So I'm not going to get overly ambitious with this right yet. Okay. I'm going to expand that out. Okay, and let's start on the first one. Okay, the first one's going to have an H4 plus an H5 plus a paragraph, and there's no classes on those, so we're just going to expand those out. In the H4, I'm going to say maybe you need something more complex. And this one, I'm going to say need a block. Whoa, I went way up. Sorry. I'm going to say need a blog, question mark, advanced functionality, question mark. Okay, and I want to capitalize all this, so I'm going to go 5B to get back, and then B again. I should have done 6B, and then I'm going to do G, Shift U, 6W, and that's going to capitalize everything. Okay, so that's a little Vim trick. All right. All right, so then we're going to type WordPress, Node.js, React, Angular, Vue, Svelte. We've got you covered. Whatever you need. Okay, and we'll go back here, and inside of this, so I want to have an image. We're going to have a class of responsive image. I got to spell this right. Responsive image. And let's expand that out. Okay, and our source is going to be images slash WordPress.svg, and the alt text is going to be WordPress. Okay, and I'm going to give it an ID of info section image. Okay, and I want to make this line shorter. Okay, so I'm going to go here, and we're going to then space this out properly. Okay, so we've got that spaced out okay, so it's not going over that line limit. Okay, and we'll go down here, make a note that we've ended info section 2. Okay, and let's just take a look and see what we've got, and we're going to have to get that picture, so it's not going to look great. So I'm going to refresh, and we don't have the picture, so we're going to go here and just search for WordPress. And we'll go here and we'll download this picture, show it in the folder, and I'm going to just copy it, and I'll rename it once I paste it, and paste it, and we'll rename it to WordPress. Okay, and we'll go here and let's refresh. Okay, so now we've got some fixing to do. So we're going to go back to our CSS and go back to the end of the line. Go here. Shift A gets me into insert mode past the last character. So we've got to have our styles for info section 2. That's going to have a padding of 50 pixels top and bottom, 0 pixels left and right. Close that out. And then we're going to also do the file. Let me hold on a minute. Let me bring that up, and let's go down here. I named that info section image. Okay. Okay, so we're going to go over here. Just hit Control W to get over there, in case you're wondering. And then I'm going to do padding on the top of 20 pixels. So we're going to do info section image, and we'll do padding of 20 pixels. And we'll close that out. Okay, and I'm actually going to, now that I saved that, I'm going to quit out of there, back to my HTML file, and then we're going to refresh. And we notice it moves it down, it spaces out nicely. Okay, so we are ready now to begin our contact form. So if you take a look here, we've got this nice contact form here. And so we're ready to start that. So let's work on that. Okay. So we're going to go down here, make a note, begin contact us section. Okay, and then we're going to have a div with an ID of contact. And inside of that, we're going to have a div with an ID of container. Inside that, we're going to have a div with an ID, we have a div with a class of container and a div with a class of row. And then inside of that, we have a couple things. We have a 5th level heading with a class of center align. That's going to center it. Inside of that, we have the text contact us. We also, and I may put this in parentheses, we also have a div with a class of column. It's going to have a size of 0 on the small breakpoint and 4 on the medium breakpoint. And we also have a div with a class of column with a size of 12 on the small breakpoint and a class of 4 on the other one, on the medium breakpoint. So this class I'm using as a spacer to center it. That's why I'm doing that. So it has medium 4, and so that's going to move it to the center. So I have some other classes inside of there, but right now I'm going to go back. So right here, and I'm going to insert a parentheses and then go to the end of the line and insert a parentheses and then expand. Okay, so we got our text in there. That's a trick you can use to have your text go right in there with Emmet, which is nice. Okay, this div here is not going to have anything in it. The reason why I did this is it's like a spacer div that I used to work with Materialize to get it to center that form. If you note up here, the form is right here. So we actually have a div over here. Now, when it goes to small screens, this div will take up the entire small screen. Okay, so because this one goes to 0, right? So that's why I did that. All right. In case you were wondering, like, why do I have that div of 0? That makes no sense. Okay. But it does. All right. Okay. So now within that, we're going to have a form. And within the form, we're going to have a div with the class of input field. And we're going to have a couple of these. So we have class of input field. I'm not spelling field right, am I? Yeah, no. Okay, class of input field. And then we have an input with a class of validate. These are materialized classes. Okay. And so I can do that. And then I'll go forward. Let's go forward. Another word. Nope. Yeah, there we go. And close that out. And then let's, hold hold on. No, I don't want to do that yet. I don't want to expand it out. I want 2 of these. Okay, so now let's expand it out. Okay, so we've got a couple of these. Form action, we're going to leave blank. Method, probably leave that blank. You want to put probably post. Okay, then let's see. We have a div class of input field. I messed up. Okay, inside of these, I want my label and my input. So let's do that. Okay, so we're going to have inside of these, I have an input. That's the class of validate plus a label, and we don't have a class on the label. And we're going to now expand that out. Okay, the input type is text for this first one. Actually, I'm going to leave this blank for a moment. And yeah, I messed up with the label. Okay, let me just take this and yank it, and then we'll go here, paste it, just fix up the formatting a little bit. Okay, so that's a little bit less we have to do. All right, so the top one, type is text, okay? And then ID is full name. Name is full name. Okay, and I think we've got all what we want to get. I'm going to space this out a little bit better for formatting. Okay. All right. Okay, so then in the label, we're going to put something like full name. Okay, and we'll do the same thing here, except this type is going to be email. ID is going to be email. And the name is going to be, if I can type, name is going to be email. Okay, and then we'll go back and just shift that in. Whoops, nope, don't want that. Okay, okay, and all right, and we'll just neaten that up a little bit. Okay, and this label is going to be email. Or no, yeah, I put email. Okay, didn't put enter email. All right, so that's what we want it to look like. Let's see where we're at this point. We'll refresh, and we're getting there. We've got our form centered. We've got this nice here. It's not working just yet, but we'll get there. Okay. All right. Okay, so after this div, and we're not going to make the form actually submit anything. It's just more for aesthetics. But so right now I'm just showing you the CSS framework. So I'm not coding in all the functionality. All right, so we have a div with the class of input field for our last one. And then within that, we have a text area with a class of text materialize. This will be materialized text area. Okay, and then we also have a label. And yeah, I'm going to expand that out. Okay, and we'll just neaten this up a little bit. Okay. Okay. All right. So, yeah. All right. So we've neatened that up a little bit. I'm going to say the label is for the text area. And we got to give it a name of text area. And I'm going to give it an ID of text area. And I actually don't want this stuff. This, kind of, so delete that and delete that. Okay. And okay, we'll refresh that and just see where we're at. Let's refresh this page. So we've got our text area there. We got to put in something for a label. Okay, and then within the label, we'll have something enter message. All right. I don't know if we need the colon. I don't think we do. Yeah, I like the look of that a little bit better. And I didn't put a got to put a submit button here, so let's do that. Let me just take a look. So we're going to check out Materialize, search for button. And we got to get a class of waves button, just button. Class of BTN. So input with a class of BTN. Okay, type is going to be submit. Name is going to be submit. ID is going to be submit. All right. Okay, so let's just neaten this up a little bit. Okay, and no, I don't want to do that. I want to go here. And all right. Okay, let's take a look at what we got. All right, so we've got a button here with submit, so we can submit our form. Probably need that. I'm going to just, let's see, we've got an ID of submit. Okay, hold on 1 sec. And let's go to the end here, the end of this line. I'm just going to say submit, and I'm going to say margin top. I think 20 pixels will probably do. And let's see. That didn't get me really what I wanted. Let's do 40. No, that's not moving. All right, where did I go? Margin top, submit. Let's do vertical split with index.html. Go down to the bottom here. ID is submit. Yeah. All right. Well, instead of boring you with fixing this issue, I'm just going to put 2 line breaks. Let's see if that does it. There we go. Okay, so I like that a little bit better. Yeah, that's okay. Let's go here and let's just see if we can target this a little bit better. Input.submit and go here and then also do I already displayed the margin top. Let's do margin left, auto, margin right, auto. See, I'm going to have to fight the framework a little bit. So what I want to do here is I want to get this, and I didn't, in my notes, I didn't include a button. You need a button. What I could do is try and override this with inline styling and have a display of flex and then justify the content to the center. Let me go back here. All right, and oh yeah, gotta justify content center. Okay, and let's see if that's gonna. And yeah, need one more thing. I also need a flex direction of column. And there we go. Actually, I like that. So let's keep it that way. Okay, cool. Now I could refactor this and give this an ID, but I'm not going to bore you with that and then try and fix it here. I'm going to go over here and just save. No. I want to make sure this is saved. Let's just make sure that doesn't mess anything up. No, that's fine. And I'm going to quit out of that so we can see this. Do want to fix up this line here. Actually, no, I want to bring this back. Okay. All right, and I saved that. We'll refresh, make sure nothing gets messed up. Okay, that looks good. All right, so last part we got to finish up is the footer, and let's go ahead and do that. All right, so let's go to the bottom here. This is the end of the contact us section. Okay, and then we want to begin the footer. All right, and then so within the footer, we're going to have a div. Actually, I'm just going to use Emmet. We're going to have div with an ID of footer, class of deep purple. That's going to give that deep purple background. We are going to have some styles with this that I'm going to add. And within that, we're going to have a paragraph with a class of center align, a class of white text. Okay. And I'm going to expand. Let's expand that. And all right. And I'm going to say copyright. And then the copyright symbol 2021, Timothy Unkert, all rights reserved. Okay, and I saved that, and we'll check it out, and I'll show you what I want to do. So this is the way I want it to look like. I'm going to refresh, and we're going to see this very, very thin line. So I don't like the look of this. This doesn't look good to me. You might like it, but you know, whatever. I want to fix it to look like the other one. So I'm going to go back to my minimize CSS. Now, typically, yeah, this is a pain to mess with the minimize CSS, but you know, you can do it, whatever. Okay, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to give my footer some styles. I'm going to have the margin be 0 because I don't want the space, because there's some space here, some natural margin in there. And then I want the padding to be 30 pixels, and that should do it. Okay, and that didn't do it. Huh. So it's getting overridden somewhere else. All right, so I'm going to put some inline styles in. And actually, let me go back and take this out. Okay, delete that. Okay, and quit out of that. Go back to my index. Okay, go down here. And, my notes, I had just the style and the inline, but all right. So style is going to be margin 0, padding 30 pixels. Okay, and we're going to save it, and let's refresh. There we go. Okay, so yeah, for whatever reason, that wasn't working in the minimize CSS. Now there may be something further down. There shouldn't be, but for some reason, and I'll have to check that why that wasn't going through. But we finished up our site. We added the bonus little submit button, which I should have put in the first little model. And we've got it going with our nice little menu up here, our unicorn dev, and we've got our site built in Materialize. If you have any questions, leave comments in the comments below. But otherwise, thanks for watching. Smash the like button and subscribe, as it really helps the channel grow. And hit the bell for notifications. Have a great day.